Once upon a time, in a quiet coastal town, where means whispered secrets treasure, lived an old man named Eddie. His cottage sat near the edge of the cliff, weathered and wrapped in seaweed. Every evening, just before twilight painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Ellie would walk as a familiar thought to the cliff's edge with a small brass lantern in hand. With fearful hands, he lit the wick, shielding the flame from the breeze until it grew steady and bright. Most villagers paid little attention, just something he'd always done. They would say eyes already drifting back to their screen, or the chatter of evening cooking. Children laughed and called him the lantern keeper, amused by his routine, but unaware of his step. Teenagers speculated wisely. Some said he waited for a consulship, others claimed he was eccentric, but only Ellie knew the truth. Decades ago, as a young sailor, Ellie had set out with a small crew for what was meant to be a short voyage. But the ocean, ever unpredictable, felt cruel. A buoyant storm struck without warning. Lightning tore across the sky. Waves crashed like molten. And Ellie's ship shattered against the rocks of the sea. He clung to a floating black, salt stinking his eye, lungs burning, hope fading. The world became cold and dark. Then as night descended, and the storm softened his fury, he saw a light flickering above the cliffs, warm and steady. It wasn't a lighthouse, just a landmark, run by an old keeper he never met. Guided by that light, Ellie fought his way through crashes and collapsing slump until he reached the shore. The light had saved him. From that moment, Ellie made a promise. He would keep a light for whoever might need it. He returned to the village, left the sea behind, and built a life of quiet diversion. Season parks, children grew, the town train, newsrooms, paved roads, noisy festival. But Ellie's walk to the cliffs never changed. Rain or shine, storm or snow, he lit the lantern, not for praise, not for tradition, for purpose. Most nights passed, and eventually people stopped noticing. But Ellie understood. The light wasn't for those who were safe and dry. It was for the lost. Then one stormy evening, the sea turned wild again. A teenage girl named Swan, full of summer dry weather, ignored by the port and took a small boat out to sea. As the winds howled and waves stirred, he realized his mistakes. His boat flamed, disoriented. He had no compass, no bearing, only fear. And then, through the downpour and darkness, he saw a flicker of light on the cliffs, faint but unyielding. He followed it with desperate hope. Hours later, the townspeople found Sam collapsed on the beach, drenched, trembling, but alive. When asked how he made it back, his voice cracked. The light, someone kept the hype up. Word spread quickly. For the first time we hear the village remembered the story behind the lantern. Eddie wasn't just an old man with a feet. He was a guardian, a quiet hero. Son visited Ellie days later, gratitude in his eyes. Eddie smiled, warm and withered. That's what the lives are for, he said, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder to guide others, even when they don't know who lit them. After that, the village changed. Children watched the lantern each evening, their eyes wide with wonder. Adults began joining Eddie on his walk. Some carried the lantern when his hands grew tired. Others lit it when he couldn't. The lantern had become more than a ritual. It was a symbol. Time, however, waits for no one. Eddie stepped slow, his voice softened on one peaceful evening. As the sky turned lavender, he handed the lantern to Sam. His sword, he said gently, not because you earned, but because someone else might need that light someday. Sam took it, hard, heavy but proud. He understood. Years different. Sam stood tall on those cliffs, the same lantern in hand. The sea murmured below, the sky stretched vast above, and out there, somewhere, someone might be drifting, searching for a hope, and the lantern still burned. We never know who might need the light we carry. Even the smallest act of consistency, done quietly and without applause, can become someone else's lifeline.